So last week I was like planning to do all these videos this week and at the end of last week, and I had such great like ideas written down, and then something happened the way that things just kind of happen. I heard a commotion outside with the dogs. So I looked out the window and I saw they were all gathered at the fence, and there was a little bit of yelping, and I gathered the puppy who was inside with me, ran out there to go and look at what was going on, and saw that the dogs were all sniffing at something on the other side of the fence. And there was some guys who work on the farm who said, no, there's a puppy in the sugarcane just over there. So I was like, okay, phone my partner, I go running out, I get the keys and go out to go and look at this little puppy that has now showed up. And as my partner comes driving up, the puppy runs off again along the fence basically towards the fence and then along it. Our dogs on the inside are running with the puppy because they're very curious. But this puppy's kind of being a bit weird. It's biting at the dogs as it goes, which at the time I didn't think it was weird. In retrospect, it's weird. Anyway, I take off my jacket, throw it on the puppy. It's kind of confused for a moment. I grab it by the scruff of the neck. It's obviously a stray. And then my partner asks me, what am I going to do with this thing? And I said, no, I'll call a rescue organization and they can come and take the puppy and, feed it up, rehome it. So I take it down to the house. I say, okay, let's put him in, actually, I'm not sure if it was female or male, put it in the bathroom where it's not going to break anything or anything like that. So as I'm putting it down, it's turning and trying to bite me, and its one tooth nicked me on my hand. Tiny little scratch. And anyway, we get out, we close the door, and then I start asking Facebook what to do. I call the SPCA, the closest one to us, which is still an hour away. SPCA, the people who need to basically decide if they can come and help me if we're too far or in their jurisdiction are not there. So they say, sorry, we'll call you back. And people on Facebook were starting to say, it's kind of unusual for a puppy that young to be biting at other dogs. It should be submissive. You need to be careful for rabies. And at that moment, I started like thinking that, oh yeah, hey, there's actually a rabies outbreak in the area at the moment. Okay, maybe I should. Okay, maybe I should not call a rescue organization so much as maybe the state vet. I call the state vet, and they're willing to come out, and they basically say, look, we're going to put the puppy down and test it for rabies because they need a brain sample to test for rabies. And at first I said to them, wait a minute, is there not some other option available here? And they said, look, no, unfortunately, because of the outbreak and because it's a stray and because of its behavior, that's the safest option. For those who don't know, rabies is 100% fatal if an animal's not vaccinated against it, or if you get bitten by an infected animal and you do not immediately go for the post-exposure routine, which is basically the immunoglobulin and the vaccine within 48 hours of being bitten or scratched. So eventually the puppy was collected, and the next day I found out that it did test positive for rabies. So I am now currently doing the post-exposure vaccinations and such. This all happened, the puppy showed up on Thursday, and Friday I was at the hospital getting the treatment. And, well, I definitely learned a lesson. First of all, yes, obviously, at the moment, in general, in South Africa, because rabies is still a problem, there's a lot of wild animals, there are a lot of stray animals, there are a lot of pets that don't get vaccinated, so rabies is kind of always lurking in the background, and every now and then it comes out properly and makes a statement. So yes, I have to be careful about stray animals and so on and so forth. But the other thing that I was reminded about myself was that I need to slow down within me before I do things, before I say things. It's something that I've been practicing with like deliberate awareness for quite a long time, because at one point I realized that okay, I'm sick and tired of living with the consequences of doing and saying things too quickly without enough consideration. I'm going to now really slow myself down and take time to consider things, investigate things before making a move, whatever it is. And I've gotten pretty good at it in certain situations. And this was obviously one of those circumstances or types of situations where I did not at all pause to consider the situation and the fullness of all the factors that may or may not have been involved. When I saw the puppy, I was just like, OMG puppy, I will save you. When in a perfect world, sure, there's nothing wrong with that response. But when you're living in an area that has a rabies outbreak currently ongoing, where there was a fatality, a human fatality, within 20 kilometers away from you in the last month, that doesn't work so well. So, unfortunately, it's in these kind of moments where we learn these lessons, and we learn them the hard way. And this was not a pleasant lesson for me at all. However, it could have been worse for me. And also, in one way, luckily for the puppy, it did find us before it got to the very painful end that happens with rabies, because it's a very, very, very horrible way to die. So in that regard, it was lucky that we found it and put it down before it had progressed to that painful place. So what does it mean to slow down? It means when and where we are able, we pause for a moment to take into consideration what other factors may be involved in any particular situation, and how our actions and words may affect the people around us, the things around us, the environment around us, but also ourselves. It means taking a moment to consider things like, is there currently a rabies outbreak before touching a stray animal? And yes, it is challenging, because a lot of the time we do things on instinct, or we do things in line with like our natures. So some people might want to immediately go and help regardless of their personal safety. Other people might want to a very common one is when we feel threatened by something, we panic, and in the panic do things that make absolutely no sense to an objective observer, onlooker. So it's in those situations, those split-second moments, where the practice of slowing down and considering our actions, if it is possible in that moment to do that, can actually make a huge difference on the outcome of whatever the situation is. And yes, it's difficult. And what makes part of it difficult is that we have to actually like force ourselves to remember to first check on all these points, first pause and consider, first investigate, and often what I find is that remembering is enough to set me, or to kind of get me back into the commitment that I've set myself to. There have been moments where if I do remember and I decide to disregard that little reminder and plow on ahead anyway, usually there's something else going on within me in relation to the situation. But in any case, that's a different topic. What I do is that point of deliberate awareness of, okay, what's happening here? Are there any things I need to consider? It's literally forcing ourselves to just slow down and check where we're at and what we're going to do and how that's going to affect us and the people and things around us. So yes, it is a practice. Yes, it takes time to practice it and get it in our responses in every part of our lives. But it can benefit us greatly, like prevent things like, having to go for rabies injections and stuff. It's not fun. Rather try not to do that. Try. Okay, so that's my that's my exciting story for the week. Hopefully I don't have to tell another one for a long while. So that's why I've been a little bit quiet the last few days, and maybe it may not seem that way to you, but for me, because I had all these plans to do all these things, and in these days that I've been quiet in terms of doing videos, it's kind of been sitting in the back of my mind the whole time. But in any case, I will try and get back on track tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Well, you'll see me soon, hopefully, if I'm not, rabid and biting everything.